it, you put some fat on it. All very
So, hi everyone. This morning we are outside Foyle Food Group in Melton Mowbray. This is a cow slaughterhouse. We're here with Jem as well. So these guys, they brag about being ultra high welfare, and I've recently read on them the genetic work they're doing on the cows. They've bred them. They keep on bragging how they're breeding them to get bigger quicker. Basically seeing them as a product, not as an individual. All they care about is the money that they get from them. Jesus. So hi everyone, today we're outside Foyle Food Group in Melton Mowbray. This is a cow slaughterhouse. Hi Sarah. Those who've just joined, could you give me a 1 if you're vegan? Which country? This is the UK, Sarah. We're in the Midlands in the UK. So yeah, we're outside Foyle Food Group. They're a cow slaughterhouse. They brag about being ultra high welfare. But if you actually look closer at the website, they also brag about, yeah, it's also nice here, Sarah. Yeah, they brag about how they genetically breed their cows to grow quicker so they can kill them at a younger age, even though they're already killed at a fraction of their life expectancy. And whenever we come here, they're never willing to have a conversation. And you know, why is it so secure? Why can we not go and have a look inside if it's so high welfare in there? What do they not want people to see? People who've just joined, do you want to could you give me a 1 in the chat if you're vegan, a 2 in the chat if you're not vegan but open to veganism, and 3 if you're just silly. So for those who've just joined, we're outside Foyle Food Group in Melton Mowbray. They are a cow slaughterhouse. They brag about being ultra high welfare. But I've also noticed on the website that they also brag about how they genetically breed their cows to make them grow as big as they can in even shorter time than usual. So they're killed at an even younger age. So in reality, even though they brag about that high welfare, in reality, what they're doing is they're seeing them as a product, and all they care about is the money that they get from them. Those of you who just joined, could you let me know in the chat? Put number 1 if you're vegan, 2 if you're not vegan but you're open to hearing about it, or 3 between. I'm not sure what you mean there, Sarah. But one, if you're vegan. Two, if you're not vegan but you're open to it. Or three, if you're closed-minded. So for new people who just joined, we're outside Foyle Food Group in the Midlands today. It's a cow slaughterhouse where they brag about how high welfare their slaughterhouse is, but they also brag about how they genetically breed their cows to grow as quick as they can so they can slaughter them at an even younger age. So, is it high welfare? When in reality, all they care about is the money they get from them, the profits they get from them. And those in the chat, if you're not vegan, is it something you've ever considered before? Is there anything you feel that's stopping you going vegan? Let me know. Hi guys, so we got... Hi Nazar Abbas, how are you? Nazar, could I check? Are you a vegan? So if you are vegan, could you put a 1 in the chat? If you're not, but you're close to it, but you're open-minded to it, sorry, put a 2. So for those just joined, we're outside Foyle Food Groups in the Midlands. It's a cow slaughterhouse. They brag about how high welfare they are, but they also brag about how they're genetically breeding their cows so that they grow quicker, so they can kill them at an even younger age. No, I don't. You know, I'm not sure what you mean there, Nazar. But anyway, I'll show you. So if you look how closed off this place is, like you wouldn't even know it was a slaughterhouse. They clearly want to hide what they do. If it's so high welfare, if it's all nice inside, why do they do that? So guys in the chat, let me know. Are you vegan? If not, have you ever thought about it? And have you ever been to a slaughterhouse yourself? Very nice facility. How come? I was at the heart ward yesterday after my foot and didn't see any vegans. Is it that they're not surviving, or is it that they're not having to go to a hospital? You mentioned you're having a heart attack there, Nesta, but maybe that's because of what you're eating. If you didn't eat those meat products, you didn't eat those animal products, you probably wouldn't have had to go there. You never see any protein deficient vegans in hospital. It's always people with heart attacks, high blood pressure. II4RZ, how is it a very nice facility? Do you want to explain that? No, I am omnivore. Have you ever considered vegan? Have you ever considered what happens to the animals that you consume? So we're outside, for those who've just joined, we're outside Foyle, Melton Mowbray. Oh, you're a farmer, okay. do you know about where you send your animals to? Have you ever looked into what actually happens at the slaughterhouses? Because a lot of farmers I've spoke to don't actually know. Yeah, too much meat, it can make your heart race a bit too much. You're right there. Where are you a farmer for, RZ? Are you in the UK? Those just joined, got 8 in the chat currently. We're outside For Your Food Group in Melton Mowbray. They're a cow slaughterhouse. They brag about their, high welfare for the cows. I'm not sure why it's so closed off then, if it's so nice. A business should let you in and have a look what they're doing. But they also brag about how they genetically breed their cows to grow as quick as they can, so they can kill them at an even younger age. In reality, they just see them as a product. If they're making a profit off them, why would they see them as anything else? They don't see them as the individuals that they are. So anyone else in the chat, could you put a 1 in the chat if you're vegan, 2 if you're not but you're open to it, and 3 if you're just very close-minded. Not from the UK. Where are you based for, RZ? New Zealand. Right, and do you think what you do to animals there is nice in New Zealand? What you do in farming? What happens in slaughterhouses? And more importantly, do you think it's needed? 2026, do you think we need to exploit and murder animals when there's so many other food options? You can live vegan, you can be totally healthy without those products. Yes, explain, Charles. Why do you think you need that? What can't you get as a vegan you need? Please explain. How can you justify paying for animals to be exploited and killed when you simply don't need to? So what? We are omnivores, exactly, which means you can survive on either plants or animal products, and you don't need animal products. You can survive on just plants. Sorry, what's so funny? My argument is that we don't need to exploit and kill animals, Charles. Well, Charles, if it's not either or, how do you explain all the vegans who are absolutely fine? How do you explain the biggest health study that was ever done showing that you can survive and thrive on a plant-based diet? How do you explain that? Otherwise, we would be herbivores. Charles, I suggest you go and have a look at this, but you're just making yourself look like a bit of a moron, to be honest. Or carnivores. You think you're a carnivore? I mean, most carnivore influencers, they literally go back within a year usually or so, because I know of one who nearly died and had to go back. Otherwise, so Charles, I suggest you do a bit of research there and actually look into what happens to the animals. If you want a short video explanation of what happens to animals, go to 3minutes.wtf. Watch short 3-minute videos. It goes through all the industries and what happens. So you don't have basic biological knowledge. So, Charles, are you saying you know more than the British Dietetics Association? Are you saying you know more than them? What is it? Yes, it's definitely needed. No way you can raise a child. I actually know quite a few children who have been raised without any animal products, and they have grown up to be very strong and healthy. You know, look at sports stars. Look at people like Patrick Van Boomien, a bodybuilder who's vegan. Novak Djokovic, arguably the greatest tennis player who's ever lived, vegan. Charles, you've not actually gone against any of my points. You don't seem to have an argument. I don't disagree on the ethics argument. Okay, so it's just the health part you disagree on. So, Charles, what vitamin, what do you think we can't get on a vegan diet? Just the biological one. But, Charles, what do you say to all the millions and millions of vegans who are totally fine, the vegans who are athletes, everyone who are totally fine and thriving as a vegan? What do you say to that? Proper nutrition? What are you saying? Novak Djokovic doesn't get proper nutrition? The ones that eat meat are fitter. I think they are. What exactly in them do you think makes you fitter? What vitamin, mineral, what do you think you can get which you can't get as a vegan? I'm really curious. This is a fact. Prove it. He hasn't been vegan all his life though. Well, if you knew about that, you'd know you just need just as much protein, just as much minerals to maintain that fitness. And with Novak Djokovic, you look at him, he actually, when he went vegan, he actually went from 3 to 1. So if anything, that argument is against you here. Physical, which would be much easier to maintain on a balanced diet. You can get a balanced vegan diet. It's not complicated. It's not proven at all, Charles. The studies actually prove it the other way. All the people in hospitals, who do you see when you go into a hospital? Do you see protein deficient vegans, or do you see people with heart attacks, high blood pressure, which all comes from eating animal products? Dairy is good. Full grown man. Yeah. Full grown men needing breast milk. It just makes no sense. And you know why? How is such a high proportion of the world lactose intolerant? If we're meant to drink milk, if we're meant to drink dairy. Charles, it's not proven at all. So for those just joined, we're outside Foyle Food Groups in Melton Mowbray in the UK. They're a cow slaughterhouse. They brag about the high welfare, when in reality they just see these animals as products. They genetically breed them to be to get as big as they can, as young as they can, so they can kill them at a younger age. They just see them as a product that they can get profit from. So anyone new in the chat, could you put 1 if you're a vegan, 2 if you're not vegan but you're open to it, and 3 if you're very close-minded? Charles, if you're still here, I think you do seem open to it. You said you agree with the ethics. I just think you need to do a bit of. I won't deny the Charles. See, I actually think you're quite open to this. I think you just need to do a bit of research about the nutritional side of it. And I suggest you really look. You said you agree with the empathy side. I'd really look at what happens to animals. If you check out 3minutes.wtf, just a 3-minute video on what happens to animals. It's totally free. Or if you want to watch documentaries on it, for the health side, I'd recommend Game Changers. That shows you about vegan and health and fitness. Ethics side, there's Dominion. There's Land to Hope and Glory. Charles, which ones have you seen? You do know that slaughterhouses only take animals in and kill them. Yes, I know that, but these are more than, they aren't just a slaughterhouse. These are a farming group as well. It's on their website that they do this. You can see the movement has too many issues. What issues are you referring to, Charles? Consciousness. What do you mean by that, Charles? I'm not sure what you mean. So there's a truck coming in now. He's hesitating because he doesn't want us to see.
Oh, they're opening the gate. If I drive really slow,
Look at that, he's smiling. He's smiling about sending animals to slaughter.
really can't see very much. Tricky to get my phone camera.
Oh, beautiful sentient beings in there being sent to slaughter. Only, yeah. Do people see that? I wasn't sure. If I eat starfish, would you still be upset? Starfish are still sentient, you know. All of these animals that feel, they have a subjective experience of the world. Completely away from eating all meat. We feed 7 billion on soy and wheat. Forrest, you do realise the majority of soy is fed to animal products, right? Now, Charles, I'm not saying the world can go vegan overnight. I'm not saying that, but can you? Of course, it's not going to be an overnight change. No, it's not going to be an overnight change, but the fact is you can actually feed, it's a lot more economically viable to feed people a vegan diet. It takes a hell of a lot less resources. You save approximately, a study showed a few years ago, if the world were to be vegan, you'd save approximately the land of the whole of Africa. That's how much land you would save. You need a brain to have that. So they still have a nervous system, Charles, so they can still feel. It's the same with things like crabs. About mussels and clams. Mussels and clams, I'll be honest, they are a bit more. It's a bit more of a grey area, but you know we don't need to eat them. So I think might as well just stay on the safe side. We don't need to eat those products. So what's the point? So I don't know if that's true, Charles. But even if they didn't feel pain, do you not think they value their life? Plants aren't sentient, Charles. So sentience, if you're sentient, it means you have your own subjective experience of the world. Plants don't have that. They're alive in the sense that they grow, but they don't have a central nervous system, so they don't feel anything, and they don't know they're alive. So basically, you're saying I don't want someone to eat me. You could describe it that way, yeah. If you wouldn't want to be treated like the animals are treated, why do it to them? Why pay for them to be exploited? You know, these animals have done nothing wrong, and yet they're treated worse than the worst criminals in society, just because of what they're born as. Well, some animals we treat well, don't we? Dogs, well, in the UK, in the West, dogs and cats, you know, we treat them like gold. In reality, you know, what is the difference? Cows, pigs, chickens, they all want to live and have a happy life, just like the animals we consider pets. So, Charles, having learned all this, is there anything actually stopping you going vegan? Because you do seem very open to it. Your questions make you seem like you're very open to it. I'm glad to hear that, Charles. Another thing that can help you, if you go to challenge22.com, that can help you make the transition to vegan. You can get try plant-based stuff. Yeah. And Charles, even if you didn't like it, there's so many options now. You look in a shop, there's so many options now. It's the cycle of life. It's not the cycle of life in the slightest. The cycle of life doesn't involve breeding animals just to exploit and murder them. Charles, why? You seem very open to it. You seem open to the ethical message. You seem to know that it's wrong to exploit and eat these animals. Truck. Another truck. Cow going in. Look at this. Sorry it's happening to you. They're terrified going in. They know what's coming. They can smell it. They've got an excellent sense of smell. And, you know, that's a small truck there. So, you know, a lot of people often say, you know, it's a small farm. Can you see over there? Can you see over? No, as in, with your tripod, can you see over? No. So the other truck coming out now. Charles, it's natural. So you're saying you don't use anything natural, Charles? Do you use electricity? Do you use any electronics? It's unfortunate, Charles, and it doesn't need to happen. You know, you don't need to be a part of it. What's the question, Charles? Because death didn't come into the world until sin There you go, Charles. How come you're using the natural argument for this, but you're not for the other things? You know, natural doesn't always mean good. Terrible things. Terrible things. Like disease. Disease is natural. Natural doesn't mean good. So we've got a drone. Drone going in by Gem. They're not going to be happy with this. See what's actually going on in there. Charles, if you check out Challenge 22 on there, it can help you go vegan. You seem to agree with the ethical points. You seem to agree with the why. You just need to know the how now. Thank you, Charles. I'm glad to hear that. Honestly, we're not here to argue with you. We're not here to, you know, judge you. We just want people. A lot of people haven't even thought about this, so we just want them to consider it. Charles, I get that. I get the taste is a factor, but you know, is a bit of a taste difference worth, you know, the exploitation, the murder of an animal when we simply don't need to? You know, I'm not saying animal products don't taste nice, but I'm saying, you know, taste pleasure is not worth what happens to animals. For those of you just joined, we've got 7 in here right now. We're at Foyle Food Groups in the East Midlands, UK. They're a cow slaughterhouse. They brag about how high welfare they are. But in reality, they just treat these animals as products. They breed them so they grow as quickly as they can, so they can kill them at as younger age as possible. Go ahead, Charles, ask. The issue you have is that we domesticated them. So I don't. Do you mean domestication in terms of pets? What do you mean by that? The issue that I have is that we exploit them. We take their lives from them when we simply don't need to. So Charles, with pets, me and a lot of vegans, well, pretty much all vegans would say, you shouldn't buy pets. You should instead look to get rescue pets. So rescue dogs, rescue cats. Because yeah, you know, breeding these animals, pet breeders are awful places. So yeah, if you're gonna get a pet animal, get a rescue. Don't buy. Traumatized pets. Yeah, exactly. A lot of these, you know, the animals in rescue places, they're often traumatized by, you know, their previous owners, wherever they've been, and they deserve a loving home. And you can do that by getting rescue animals and not buying. Okay, so here's my second question. Go for it. Don't buy from a cat. There you go. There you go. Say I stumble upon an already dead animal. I think I know where you're going with this. I mean, I wouldn't eat it, Charles, but I'd probably, you know, give it to probably a carnivorous animal who needs it. Um, but it's certainly not the same as exploiting, you know, breeding and exploiting animals. So, Charles, I'm glad you seem very open to this. Anyone else in the chat? Anyone new in the chat? Could you put a 1 in the chat if you're vegan, a 2 if you're not but you're open to it, and a 3 if you're just very close-minded. And 4, just so you know, some farmers have actually, you know, they've actually transitioned their farm to go plant-based. So, you know, it is possible. 1, Navia, thanks for joining. Observation. At some point, we have to be able to eat the animal. God wisdom. Why do we have sharp canines? I'd suggest comparing our. Thanks for coming, Charles. And yeah, check out those sites I've mentioned. God doesn't want us to eat meat. Why do we have big? It's not sustainable. Why don't you think it's sustainable? Because, you know, a lot of the. Exactly, Navia. Why are gorillas so strong? They're just plant-based. You know, most of the majority of crops grown are fed to animals. They're fed to farm animals. It's so much more sustainable to just eat the crops directly rather than feeding them to the animals first. You know, approximately 80% of farmland is used for animal product production, and it only provides 20% of our calories. You know, it's not economical at all. It's why so many governments have to fund animal agriculture with subsidies. So we've got 5 people in the chat. Anyone else? Anyone else who's new? We're outside Foyle Food Groups in the Midlands today. They are a cow slaughterhouse. They brag about how high welfare they are. But if they were so high welfare, why would they be so closed off? Why would they want to hide what they do? And they also, you know, mention on the website how they genetically breed these animals to grow as quickly as they can, so they can slaughter them at as younger age as possible. So, you know, they mention high welfare. In reality, they just see these sentient beings as products that they can make a profit from. Destroy the crops. What do you do about them? Well, that's, you know, that's the same with animal agriculture. They would destroy the crops that are fed to animal products, fed to animals. So why? That's not really an anti-vegan argument, I'm afraid. You know, that will more be the case with animal products because it takes more crops to feed animals. And there's also, you know, farming methods are advancing all the time. So, you know, it can get to the point where we won't need to do that. So anyone new in the chat, we're outside Foyle Food Group in Melton Mowbray. They're a cow slaughterhouse. They brag about how high welfare they are, but you know, they're so determined to not let people look inside. So anyone new in the chat? You want to put a 1 if you're vegan, 2 if you're not vegan but you're open to it, and 3 if you're just closed-minded. Vegan. 1 269 activism. Thank you for joining. Otherwise, there's multiple other farming practices. Whilst I'm not an expert, I'm sure you can find plenty. Hey, 269 activism. Thanks for being here. And you know, again, whereas that's not an argument against vegan products. That's how. Oh, it's Phil. Hi, Phil. No, I didn't know that was you. But good to have you here. Yeah, for us, that's not an argument against vegan products. Anyone else in the chat? Put if you're a vegan, put 1. Exactly, Navia. It's not. It doesn't really make much sense, does it? For us, you do seem open to these questions, though. You don't seem to just be trolling. So you know, do ask questions. That's what we're here for. We're not here to argue with you. So yeah, that truck coming out now. You know, there was a living sentient cow in there, and now they've been dropped off to be killed, and they simply don't need to be. This doesn't need to happen anymore. So anyone new in the chat, you put a 1 if you're vegan, 2 if you're not vegan but you're open to it, or 3 if you're just closed-minded. We're outside Foyle Food Group in the Midlands. They're a cow slaughterhouse. They brag about how high welfare they are, when in reality they just see these animals as products. They try to make them grow as quick as they possibly can, so they can kill them at as younger age as possible to make as much money as they can. And if they were so high welfare, why would it be so closed off and hidden? You know, people driving past, they won't know that this is a slaughterhouse. They're so proud of what they do. Why is it so closed off? So yeah, anyone new in the chat, ask any questions you want. 1 if you're vegan, 2 if you're not vegan but open to it, and 3 if you're just closed-minded. So for those joining, we're outside. Thank you for being here. We're outside Foyle Food Group. It's a cow slaughterhouse in the Midlands in the UK. They brag about how high welfare they are, when in reality they just see these animals as products. You can hear the cows, you know, fear right now. They know what's coming. We've had a couple of trucks go in already. Yeah, they can smell. They've got a very good sense of smell. They can smell what the animals are going through, and they know what's coming for them. You know, how can we still do this? How can we still do this to animals today? You know, the UK, we say that we're an animal-loving country. How is that the case when this goes on? You know, you don't need to be a part of this. It's so easy to be vegan in the UK in 2026. You don't need to pay for animal products. The reason these places are open is because people pay for these products. It's supply and demand. So, you know, you can boycott this industry and not support it anymore. by going vegan. Anyone new in the chat? We're outside Foyle Food Group in the Midlands. They're a cow slaughterhouse. They brag about how high welfare they are. Exactly, Navia. It's very easy to be vegan. So easy. Yeah, they brag about how high welfare they are, but it's closed off. You could not tell if you're driving by that this is a slaughterhouse. They brag about how they breed their cows so they grow as quick as possible, so that they can kill them at an even younger age. Answer me this, silly vegans. Broke that leg. Yeah, so, as adults, why are we still drinking breast milk? Why does no one consider this? Why do we drink not only breast milk from another species is simply not needed. Why is such a high proportion of the population lactose intolerant? We're simply not meant to have dairy. It makes no sense. So anyone new in the chat? Do you want to put 1 if you're vegan, 2 if you're not but you're open to it, and 3 if you're just closed-minded? We're outside Foyle Food Group in the Midlands. They're a cow slaughterhouse. They brag about how high welfare they are, when in reality they just see these animals as products. They genetically breed them so that they die, so that they grow quicker, so they can be killed at an even younger age. So, how is that high welfare when in reality they just want to get as much money as they can from these cows? These sentient beings who want to live, don't want to die. And you can stop. The way we stop these industries is by stop financially supporting them. By stop paying for these products, meat, dairy, eggs, all animal products. It's a supply and demand industry. Without your support, these animals, without your financial support, they can no longer exploit these animals. We're not here to argue. We're just here to show you what actually happens, to hopefully open your minds to change. If you've got any questions, please do ask in the chat. If you're vegan, put 1. If you're not vegan but you're open to it, put 2. And if you're completely closed-minded, then put 3. And if you've got any questions, feel free to ask. We're not here to argue. So for anyone who's just joined, we're outside Foyle Food Groups in the Midlands. They're a cow slaughterhouse. They brag about how high welfare they are, when in reality, they just see these animals as products. They grow them as quick as they can, and so they can kill them at as younger age as possible. In reality, they just see these animals as products that they can get, they can maximise profits from. And you can stop supporting these places by going vegan and stop paying for these products. So if you're new to the chat, put a 1 in the group, 1 in the chat if you're vegan, 2 if you're not but you're open to it, and a 3 if you're closed-minded. We're also here. We've got another activist here, Jem, who's just flown her drone over to see what happens to the cows inside. They won't be happy with that, because they want to, why is this place so closed off? And you can actually hear the cows bellowing now. I don't know if you can hear it through the stream, but they know what's coming. They know what's coming in there. Oh, it's awful. I don't know if you can hear that, but they're screaming. Anyone not vegan in the chat? So if anyone new, we're outside Foyle Food Group in the Midlands. This is a cow slaughterhouse. They brag about how high welfare they are, but we can actually hear the cows screaming inside right now, which doesn't show high welfare to me. They see these animals as products that they can get as much profit from as they possibly can. And if you're against seeing animals as commodities, as products, then live vegan. Stop, boycott these industries. Visit to a real farm. I have seen real farms. How well they're actually treated. And for us, even if they were in this hypothetical, even if they were treated well, you're still taking their life from them at a fraction of their age. It's still exploitation. There's another truck. There's a truck coming in now. It's packed. There's so many victims in this one. So sorry, you don't deserve this. Oh, it stinks as well. Yeah. So sorry, guys. You don't deserve this. Oh, so sorry. Grew up on a farm. Navia, that's an incredible story, Navia. What was the shift for you, Navia? When did you change your mind? Still didn't answer my what question I've asked about the farm. And there's literally another vegan in the chat who grew up in a farm. So I don't know what you have to say to that, really. Exactly, Navia. If you think it's hard to be vegan, then yeah, maybe you've just not learned how to cook properly. So for anyone who's just joined, we're outside. Have you ignored about the wild ham? No, I haven't, for us. We answered that. That's not a vegan issue. If that's your reason to exploit animals, that simply makes no sense. And there's plenty of farming methods where they're advancing all the time. That's an issue that can be solved. Whereas you can't exploit and kill an animal without killing them. So if anyone's just joined, if you put a 1 in the chat if you're vegan, 2 if you're not but you're open to it, and a 3 if you're closed-minded. We're outside Foyle Food Group today. It's a cow slaughterhouse in the Midlands. They brag about how high welfare they are, but in reality, we can hear the cows. We can hear the cows screaming in there right now. It doesn't sound very high welfare to me. They just see these animals as products. They don't care about them. They care about the money that they can make from them. So Jem's sending a drone in there. They won't be happy with that because they don't want people to see what actually happens to animals in there. Isn't it funny that the majority of the world is fine with this? Well, the majority of people haven't seen this. You're the minority and will be for the rest of your life. I'm sure they said that about a lot of issues, a lot of human rights issues in the past. And look what happened there. You know, I don't know about last year. I think the year before last, in the UK alone, the amount of vegans grew by over 1 million. You look at how many more products are available. That's not just happening for no reason. It's happening because the demand is there for it now. And, you know, and a lot of people see the footage. They see what actually happens to animals. They make that connection. A lot of people are much more open to change. That's exactly what I'm saying, Nesta. The majority of people you see in hospitals are people with, you know, heart attacks, high blood pressure. All these things come, at least in part, from eating animal products. So, anyone new? If you put in the chat, 1, if you're vegan, 2, if you're not but you're open to it, and 3, if you're just a troll. 4 hours as well. With your last comment, you seem to have run out of arguments. You know, saying the majority of people does it isn't really an argument. You know, there's plenty of companies out there that help farms transition. So, you know, maybe give them a look. Anyone new in the chat or outside? Foyle Food Group in the Midlands, UK. They are a cow slaughterhouse. They brag about how high welfare they are. You know, whilst we've been here, we've heard multiple screams in there. These cows, they know that they're going to die. They can smell it, smell the other cows. And you know, we don't need to do this. 2026, we do not need to murder animals for food. There's other products. We do not need to exploit animals anymore. You can boycott this. You can go vegan, and you can take your financial support away from these awful places. 3, the man in the family who died the day God and nature intended. I mean, if God intended it, you know, why would He have made these animals feel pain? It makes no sense. There's no logic behind it. And you know, if you want to be masculine, if you want to be protective, surely masculinity is about protecting the vulnerable, protecting these animals. You know, the strong protect those who can't protect themselves. You know, if anyone wants to be truly masculine, you know, protect these animals. Don't exploit them. Anyone new in the chat? Put a 1 if you're vegan, a 2 if you're not vegan but you're open to it, and a 3 if you're just closed-minded. We're outside Foyle Food Group today. It's a cow slaughterhouse in the Midlands, UK. They brag about how high welfare they are, but you know, we've heard multiple screams inside today. They also say that they try to breed their cows in a way that makes them grow as quickly as possible so they can be slaughtered at an even younger age. So, you know, that doesn't scream high welfare to me. It screams they want as much money as they can possibly get from them. So yeah, if you're new here, put 1 if you're vegan, 2 if you're not vegan but you're open to veganism, or 3 if you're a troll. Got another activist joining us now. So yeah, we've seen multiple trucks go in already. The cows, sadly, are probably already being murdered now. Because we've heard the screaming, we can hear it from here. I don't know if you could hear it through the stream. Yeah, they clearly don't want to die. They value their own life. They want to live. We don't need to continue to pay for this. 2026, you know, you can live vegan. It's so easy to live vegan. And you know, if you're against exploitation of animals, that's the way to live. You know, don't be a hypocrite. Align your morals and your actions. One more time. Yeah, so we're outside Foyle Food Group in the Midlands, UK today. It's cow slaughterhouse. They brag about their high welfare, but you know, we've heard the screams today. We know that's not the case. Right, I think the numbers seem to have kind of stopped going up now. So I'm going to end this live stream now. But thanks so much everyone for coming. It's really sad to see the trucks go in today. But thanks for coming in. Thanks for asking questions. Thanks vegans for being here. Thanks non-vegans who are open to discussion. I hope you've opened your mind to what you've seen. Yeah, I'm going to end it there. Thanks everyone.